From tracking baby trafficking syndicates in Asia and Mexico to exposing corruption in Canada's foreign missions and exposing the plight of abandoned brides in India, Fabian Dawson is a journalist when it comes to investigative enterprise. Dawson is an internationally acclaimed author, a filmmaker, a media expert who's won multiple awards. His work over the last 3 decades spans the globe. Until August 2016, Dawson, 55 years old, was the deputy editor-in-chief of the province newspaper in Vancouver. So Fabian, let's go way back to the beginning. Tell us, when you came to Canada, what did you think of the media scene when you came to Vancouver?
I was a little petrified. I applied to come to Canada back in the late 80s from Malaysia. And of course, at that time, when you applied as a journalist, they gave you 10 points, the maximum, because they said they wanted journalists to come to Canada. But when you got there, you got a rude shock because you could never get a job. So you ended up going to newspapers. I remember going to the Whistler Question one time. I had just come off the Afghanistan war zone before coming here. Their biggest story was where the main the mailbox was going to be in this. So it was quite a transition. So started working, at 7-Eleven and, cutting onions at A&W for a while, just to keep the wool from the door. And kept trying, the province and the Sun, because these were the only big ones in town, right?
But you got creative, though. Tell us about how you got your first byline.
Well, so I had my paycheck, which was about $60 at that time. So I said, okay, I'm going to the press club. I'm going to call a few guys who are working tomorrow and see which one I can get drunk so, so that I could get a shift in when he didn't come to work. It was a gamble, but so a bunch of guys came over. We started chatting. We had a few beers, quite a lot of beers.
So you bought drinks for everybody?
Yeah. And true enough, and then went home and waited for the phone, and true enough, it rang the next day. And it was Damien Inwood or the late Andy Ross, I can't remember. They were the editors, the news editors. And they said, hey, you want a shift? I said, yeah, who didn't come? They mentioned the name of the guy who didn't turn up for work, right?
So someone was hungover, thanks to you, and so you got a shift at the paper.
That's right. Yeah, so I turned up at the office, and they gave me a story, and it turned out to be the front page the first day.
Not bad for your first day.
Yeah, so there was no looking back since then.
Tell us about some of the stories that you feel have had the most impact.
I think a lot of the stories that I did revolve around women issues, and I think those were very rewarding. When we did the Abandoned Bride series, that was very rewarding, because I always feel that journalism shouldn't just be about voyeurism. You can't just go there and report something or reflect what's going on around you. I think we should be also a vehicle for change, a vehicle for social change.
No one else ever pitched that kind of a story at the province.
No.
What kind of were your editors and your bosses supportive of you pursuing that story?
Yeah, I worked with a great group of editors too. And you're as good as a good editor, right? As a journalist, And I had just tremendous editors. They made journalism a joy to work with.
How did you find out about the story about Jassie's murder?
Jassie, I thought it was just a next of kin kind of thing. I didn't anticipate all of this stuff behind the story. And so I knocked on the door, and the uncle came out, who's now one of the accused, but he kept saying, I had nothing to do with it, I had nothing to do with it, I had nothing to do with it. So, as a journalist, your inbuilt shit-kicking device starts moving, right? And it's like, why is he saying this?
He doth protest too much?
Yeah.
I understand you're legendary at writing headline.
But I think the art of writing headlines is a beautiful form of journalism. It's poetry, and it's puns, and it's funny.
Do you feel there is an appetite for investigative news?
Yes, for sure. I think we as journalists, we shouldn't just be covering stuff, we should be uncovering stuff. I think that's the value in it, And yeah, I think people appreciate if you do go the extra mile. You know.